Hello, it's Dave here, and I'm with my wife, Cathy.
Hello.
And we're with a returning special guest, Cathy's mother, Linda. Hello, Linda.
Hey, hi everybody.
Who was flown in for the birth of our child, which has still not happened.
So it's essentially turned into just a holiday for me, which is how bad.
So we're currently in Walton-on-Thames, sitting down, relaxing, just had a bit of lunch.
And our baby, we think it's payback for all the times we were so late for the cinema and missed the start of movies. Our child is now 9 days overdue and has no intention of coming anytime soon.
Yes, we had a great tweet from listener Ningers who pointed out that we're always late for movies. That if we played the first 5 minutes of a movie to the baby, then it would probably show up then. But we're not going to be late for this one because
we're
it's
early.
10 to 3 and the billing time's at 3.
Okay.
So we are going to see the Limehouse Golem, which is the look on Linda's face.
Yeah.
What do you think this is about?
I have no idea.
Let's admit, it's a really weird title.
It's a really weird title. It's based on a novel which was written by Peter Ackroyd, which none of us have read, but is quite beloved. And Mom's actually our Bill Nighy correspondent now because he's the star of it. And last time Mom was on the podcast, we went to see Their Finest, which is also the star of. So we'll be interested in your opinion on Bill Nighy's performance in this one. But I'm really interested because Jane Goldman wrote the screenplay. She's a really good...
Is that Jonathan Ross's wife?
It is. It's nice of you to categorise her as a wife before her accomplishments.
Oh! That's not what... not at all my intention.
Yeah.
She's the writer... Okay,
Yeah,
for the
she's
start
the
of
writer.
it, she's the writer of Kick-Ass and Stardust.
And Kingsman.
Yeah.
Loads
She's
of good
married
scripts.
to Jonathan Ross.
Yeah.
No, Jonathan Ross is married to her.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like it.
There we go.
There we
ate
go.
nobody's
Did I pull
property.
it back?
You pulled it back.
That possessive wife.
So she's a really good writer, and she tends to write about really good female characters. So I'll be interested to see how it's written.
Is Bill Nighy playing a female character?
No.
So this is a Victorian era thriller.
Yeah.
I believe, and it's something to do with Jack the Ripper. Is it?
I don't know. I don't know much beyond who wrote it. And we're all excited because at the moment we're all obsessed with Line of Duty, all three of us. And one of the guys from Line of Duty season 3 is in it. We noticed. So yeah, we're particularly
The guy
excited.
who played Danny.
We're definitely in murder, mystery, detective mode. Even Cathy and I are kind of syncing at the moment. We're even reading the same Dublin-based murder mystery novels.
So yeah, we're ready for this.
I'm curious because
Y'all ready for this?
Yeah, I'm just remembering Bill Nighy when I talked about that last movie that I thought he was exceptional, but I think he always plays Bill Nighy. I never see a huge difference other than he seems to fit nicely into different roles. So I'd be curious to see how he is in this.
Yeah, this is a very rare non-comedic role for him.
Yeah, because he's usually just got that. You just look at him and he's comic.
Yeah.
So I don't
He's got
know.
very distinct affectations, doesn't
Yes.
he? Like Jeff Goldblum and Christopher Walken. He's got certain sort of speech patterns and movements.
And mouth shapes. He
Yeah.
just makes some shape with his mouth and you know what's going on.
Yeah, I've never seen him in a non-comedy, so this is interesting. But yeah, we should go, so we won't
I
be
did
late.
see him, okay, and I want. Gosh, it was something like we bought a castle or something. It was a weird Irish movie, I think, where we bought some rundown castle.
Did they buy
and he
Castle?
Was,
Never mind.
yeah, anyway, sorry, but it was a very weird movie that I didn't watch the end of because it was too weird.
And was he in it?
Yeah, he was a serious guy who sort of dragged his kids. But like we'd had a conversation about not schooling your kids. He just had them running around living in a castle.
Okay.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Was it a sequel to We Bought a Zoo?
No, but that's a good movie. That's actually a really good movie despite its title. I loved it.
Okay.
All right, let's go see this, and we'll see you on the other side.
We'll see you on the other side.
Won't, or we won't, because we'll have had a baby in the cinema.
In which case you'll never hear this introduction.
Exactly.
This baby's so late. We've had 2 trips to the cinema
Yeah,
now.
it's ridiculous.
All right,
All
bye.
right, bye.
I'm Inspector Kildare of Scotland Yard. I'm investigating a series of deaths. They're calling them the Limehouse Golem murders. At Ratcliffe Highway, he slaughtered a household. The previous week, a prostitute. And the Golem's a madman. Even madness has its own logic.
Inspector Kildare, I may have found an eyewitness in Limehouse, sir.
I can't tell you what I know.
Just assist me. I promise I won't let anything happen to you.
All right, we're just out of the Limehouse Golem, taking a stroll down Walton-on-Thames. firstly, as always, we are not going to spoil this movie for a while. We'll turn on to spoiler street in a bit. But firstly, let's get our general thoughts. I'm going to go to Linda first because I noticed you were asleep for maybe more than half of that movie.
I don't know whether it was more than half, but I would first of all like to review the cinema. The most comfortable cinema I've ever been in. I sat down and I had a couch and cushions, so I lay down and then fell asleep.
I think that was your first mistake, was lying down.
Yes. I think it's more of a reflection of the cinema than the movie.
But it was very warm and dark and cozy in there.
Warm and dark and cozy, and I don't know, kind of found it gloomy. The whole mood of the movie, the Victorian era, the deprivation, the poverty, and the violence.
It's grim.
It was pretty grim coming out of the sun, and another review of the town we're in, Walton-on-Thames. It's really lovely. It's very bright and very
Linda,
upbeat.
this is a cinema podcast.
Cinema
We don't
podcast.
review towns and cinemas.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the contrast between this
you're right.
and Death Town.
And did you like the movie?
Oh, did I like the movie? I can't say I liked the movie.
Okay.
No, I would say no, I didn't like the movie.
We should probably actually say what it's about. Cathy, do you want to give it a quick synopsis?
And then I can review the town.
Then you can talk more about the town.
So it's about there's two concurrent plots. There's a woman who's being charged with the murder of her husband, and separate to that there's a case Bill Nighy is investigating where there's a serial killer on the loose in East London in Limehouse, and there's 4 potential suspects and he's investigating them, and he thinks that the killer is the husband of the woman. And then there's a lot of back and forth. Narratively, they move time a lot, so it's quite a disjointed film to watch. I did enjoy it, and there's certain things that they turned on its head, which I'll address in Spoiler Street, which were interesting. And I thought the acting and the settings were all very good, but it was very disjointed, and I found that a little bit tedious at points.
Yeah, I found the same. This didn't really work for me, the movie. It kind of sets out to be a serial killer police procedural, very much like Seven, I thought, at the beginning. It had that sort of tone and setting, the serial killer leaving cryptic clues in blood.
Yeah, I was really enjoying that stuff, and then they just abandoned it.
They kind of abandoned it to tell the backstory of the other protagonist, Lizzie, who was played by, what was her name?
Olivia Cook.
Olivia Cook, who
She's
I
really
thought
good.
She's the standout of this movie.
Yeah, she's
by
the
far.
star.
She's amazing. She's the real protagonist. But it kind of just tells her story, and I think Bill Nighy and his constable and their plot becomes the B plot, and it's kind of forgotten about. And that was, for me, the more interesting stuff, rather than sort of getting flashbacks of this woman's horrible life growing up in grim Victorian London.
Well, see, I thought they were equally interesting, but I didn't think they merged them well enough.
Yeah,
they were too disjointed from each other.
Well, they do. There is overlap, but it doesn't happen till much later in the movie, so they do feel very disjointed. So yeah, and I guess the ending about a half an hour into it, and then just everything that happened just kept confirming it for me. So there was no surprise for me. So I didn't. It was just very paint by numbers, very. Yeah, it was kind of, but I enjoyed the setting. The Victorian stuff was quite fun. I thought everyone was very good in it. The costume work and the setting was interesting, but it was I was just kind of just waiting for it to end, and it was ticking along.
It almost felt like something that should have been like a BBC Christmas adaptation. To me, it doesn't feel like a movie that you need to go and see in the cinema.
No, I wouldn't bother.
I would have thought it was a TV mini-series if I had to guess. If I had just seen it on TV one night.
It's worth to watch at home a year from now.
Yeah.
I'd say on some wintry night.
But she's a great actress, Olivia Cook.
She's standout. I feel
really standout.
And we saw her in Me, Earl and the Dying Girl as well, was the other thing, and she was amazing in that. So I think she's a real rising star. But Linda, tell us more about this town and what you like so much about it.
I'm over the town now. Now I'm interested in the movie. I also had guessed the ending shortly after I woke up.
Good.
So I wasn't surprised. And I think
we'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk about that later. But the bit that And just to get back to what I'd said before about Bill Nighy, he was very different in this movie.
Yeah.
He was extremely serious and depressive and low energy, so he was very different. So I'd like to say he pulled that off really well. And the movie largely became about his obsession to clear her. So he had some sort of but they didn't go deeply enough into what was driving that.
Yeah.
Right up to the end, he was totally obsessed, not with truth, but with having her
Free.
exonerated or free. So
therefore he was obsessive with her husband being the murderer so that he could prove that she murdered him as a retribution.
And at some point, and I know we talked earlier about how we're obsessed with our all watching Line of Duty, which is about corruption in the police force. It's almost like he was blinkered by his passion for releasing her, that he wasn't even doing good police work. But I thought he was good. I thought she was outstanding. There's something overly theatrical for me around like a lot of with the music hall. I find it crass.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I find it crass.
Yeah.
It almost hurts me looking at some of that garish
But then they also
music
said
hall scenes. But they did it really well.
it was considered lower entertainment, wasn't it? That music hall stuff.
Oh yes, it was
Yeah.
very working class entertainment.
It's a very interesting setting, because I don't know a lot about that, but it is, it's very it's bawdy, sort of bordello type of theatre, isn't it?
Yes.
But I thought it was just crap. Like from a.
Well, it's like circus.
like-
it's like closer to circus and pantomime than what we'd call theatre.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
should say Lizzie is an actress, so this is why we're talking about the theatre. And she wants to be taken seriously as an actress, but she's very much known for being a comedian.
I did think that the movie had some interesting things to say about the media, and the way it felt very much reflective of today's society, and that even then the tabloids were very much a thing. The press were interfering with investigations. There's a very early scene where they're at a crime scene and there's just people milling around on the crime scene, in the house. The press are getting in there. The tabloids have throughout this woman's trial, throughout the story, you sort of get the sense of how the tabloids have
Well, the tabloids
portrayed
built her up
her.
and then knocked her down, which is what tabloids love to do to people.
Yeah.
So she's the toast of the tabloids, and then the next day she's a complete villain. So, and it was also what I enjoyed was, because obviously, today's police procedurals we watch all about, forensic evidence and all that. Obviously in this, there's no such thing as fingerprint or anything like that. So they're all touching everything. So they're like the clue in this movie is the handwriting. That's all they have to go on, which I think is quite funny, because surely you could alter your handwriting or pretend you're left-handed and write differently. But all the suspects have to write out a certain passage. And I enjoyed how they told that. Every time they read a different passage from the murderer's book, they reenacted it in quite a cool way, I think.
Yeah, there were a few nice touches in
Yeah,
here.
but for me, it was just overly directed and overly done. It was too stylized, and there was too many different things going on at the same time.
But the way that it is parallel with today, when you talk about that, the media and the reporters, there was also this thing that the murderer had written in the diary saying, and I think he was quoting Thomas De Quincey or De Courcy, but anyway, but he was saying it's the public's thirst for blood that makes the crime possible. You want blood, you want to see the blood, so you're responsible for the crime I'm committing, which was very interesting in the context of what happens today with that whole obsession with tragedy and with hype, that we almost create the disasters that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And it makes people famous as well.
Exactly, that 5 minutes of fame.
Which is
interesting.
So I think there is some interesting thematic stuff here, but it's not really enough to hang a movie off. And because it sounds like we all predicted the plot very early on, then you're just kind of just watching a bunch of scenes, and when it's not enjoyable to watch a police procedural thriller when you're 6 steps ahead of the police.
Yes, hoping they're going to catch up with you.
Yeah.
Yes. But I did enjoy looking over and see Mom lying down asleep on the sofa. But we should go to Spoiler Street.
Yeah, so spoilers now for the Limehouse Golem. So yeah, I mean, come on, it was obviously her from the minute that, well, first of all, they showed you her violent, horrible upbringing, and then all the diaries of the killer were all about being famous and performing and stage. So it was and I know that the other suspects were actors and playwrights. But it was just clearly her because she was the only other person in the show who wasn't already a suspect.
That's why I guessed it, not because of her violent upbringing, but because I thought, well, it's obviously not one of the four suspects.
It can't be as straightforward
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
the first person we suspect.
Yeah.
I just guessed it on the basis that there has to be a twitch.
same.
It has to be her. Twitch? It has to be a
twist,
twist.
yeah.
It has to be a twist. It has to be her.
And I had read that some people say that, there's like feminist tones to this because it questions, that very classic British narrative of like the Jack the Ripper, the serial killer who's murdering women, and that real kind of pornish element to like male serial killers, and they're saying, well, this turns this on its head because it's a female serial killer. I don't see that as being a set feminist thing. I think you've just made the protagonist female, not male. Like I don't get that reading at all from it. And I also didn't really understand her motivations because she was already famous. So I didn't quite buy that she did this to become famous.
No, they set it up with the little line she has with Dan, what was his name, her mentor, after she's gone on her first date with Jonathan Cree. He says, "We're only ever be comics, they'll never take us seriously." Oh no, she says it. She says, "We're only comics, they'll never take us seriously. We're gonna be forgotten about." So it's all about. It was all about carving your name in stone.
But why was she? If she wanted to carve her name in stone and be a famous serial killer, why is she fanning around letting Bill Nighy figure it out up until the 11th hour? Like, what was the point of any of that?
Okay, I think she wanted him. She was confessing to him, and I think she wanted him to tell everyone.
Yeah, but why? Why didn't she just tell everyone? Why is she pretending that she's this?
Yeah,
why
I don't
is she
know
in
that, I
court
don't
letting
understand.
herself be on the borderline of being hung?
It made no sense.
Yeah.
That last piece made no sense.
Yeah, that was slightly confusing. Her final motivations were slightly confusing.
It was very confusing. I found the end. I could barely follow it. And then why did, at the very end, when they're reenacting her story on stage, why did her friend conspire to murder someone else on stage? That just, I was lost at that
because
point.
he wanted his moment of fame. He wanted to play the starring role.
But he could have
was
always
that it?
played it. It was his theatre.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Oh, you think he did that? I think.
Oh, he did it, yeah. He murdered her.
murdered
Oh,
her.
really?
Yeah, he said, "Oh no, we forgot to check the safety."
I thought that was just a complete coincidence myself.
No, he conspired to kill her. And I initially thought as well, oh, it's because he wants to be the star of the show, not her. But then actually I thought, well, he owns the theatre, he can be the star if he wants. She's a nobody. Why would he have to thwart her?
I don't know. It sounds like we're all as confused as each other.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I don't think it really mattered, did it?
No, but it was a bad end to the movie because it was just weird. And I know in the book he's the title character. I forget his name.
Dan something.
And the Limehouse Golem. So I guess in that sense it makes sense it would end on him. But in the movie he's not the title character, and I was like, what is this?
He had the opening line in the movie though, and the closing line essentially. So maybe he just got underplayed in the film adaptation, and he was more significant.
I quite like that actor that played him.
Yeah, he was good.
He was good.
But the end, I just really lost me. Like I thought the last 5 minutes were just silly and dull, and it's a shame because there was loads of good elements, and I did enjoy lots of the script and the performances.
Well, then I personally almost feel a bit bad, almost like I didn't give it justice. It was a sunny afternoon. It's not quite what I was expecting energetically, and I think there might be a time or a night or a winter by a fire that I'd like that movie.
Yeah, I think it should have been a winter release.
Yeah.
I think it's weird they released it on the 1st of August.
It just didn't feel right for today, so
No.
1st of September. Or it's out since August, is it?
No, it
Oh
just
no,
came
it's out. Sorry, 1st of September it came out. Yeah.
So yeah, I almost feel like I'm not doing it justice. Like I saw it on the wrong day, and it had a lot of intrigue, but didn't work for me today, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, no, fair
But
enough.
this town, 5 stars.
Yeah.
And for the cinema, oh my god, 5 stars.
It's funny because our last episode we went to the cinema as well, and we also raved about how comfy it was.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes.
All right, let's leave it there unless anyone has anything else to say.
Thank you, Mom, for returning.
Okay, yeah, I think stellar performances is what I would say. Really intriguing acting, and I'd say give it a shot. Don't be completely guided by where we're at today.
Yeah,
It's a good movie.
Good movie,
Yeah.
good movie, good cast.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, don't bother is my...
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say watch it at Christmas if you get the DVD off
Yes.
someone.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, if anyone's actually seen this movie and is listening in, let us know what you thought. We're at the Cinemile on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. You can email us thecinemile@gmail.com, and please leave us a review on iTunes if you have 5 minutes, because that massively helps us get noticed.
Yes, and to leave a review on iTunes, You actually have to search for the podcast whether you're not subscribed to us. Sounds like these dogs are leaving us a review. It's not good. So you have to search the Cinemile and then you can leave a review. And thank you to our recurring, what's this, Mum, your 6th, 7th time in the podcast?
It's many times.
You're an old hat at it now.
She's a
First time you've
favourite.
ever slept through most of the movie. And hopefully next time we speak to you all, we'll have a baby.
Well, either way, I'm
not
not
at
going
this
to the
rate.
cinema again this pregnant. It is not comfortable.
No. All right, bye.
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 He who observes spills no less blood than he who inflicts the blow. It's a message to us.